Question. Has anyone been aware of this?
Then Jesus makes a mysterious statement. He compares his own power to that of one of the Bible's great patriarchs. The queen of the south shall rise up, for she came from the utmost parts of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon. And behold, a greater than Solomon is here.
And for any of you who don't know what that was, or what Jesus meant by that, is that he was talking about the legendary King Solomon. Hello everyone. Once again, this is Dare to Speak. And what you just heard is from a documentary from something called Banned from the Bible. And these are just books that were purposely, deliberately taken out. And of course, it was done in 325 AD during the Council of Nicaea, where all the corrupted bureaucrats and cardinals, bishops and high priests and stuff like that were debating what should be taken out and what should be staying in. And of course, this was one of the things that were taken out. What I'm about to tell you right now, which is scriptures from the book of Kings, from the Old Testament, referring to King Solomon. And King Solomon was not only known to be the wisest king in history, and he was also known as to be a great sorcerer. He was an occultist. He was a master practitioner of practical Kabbalah, as well as Egyptian magic and other types of things he learned. The thing about it is, which is very important, is King Solomon was also a very, very powerful exorcist. His power was given to him by a magic ring, this ring of power that was given to him by the Archangel Gabriel. And for those of you who are into, the Bible and stuff like that, which I used to be into, but even though I'm not into it anymore, I still find the stories fascinating, interesting at least, even though I'm not into it anymore. But the point is, King Solomon was given this ring, and it was told in the Testament of Solomon. And I think you'll find this part interesting.
Called the Testament of Solomon, it is written in the first person and describes how King Solomon conjured up an army of demons. There came before before my face 36 spirits, with faces of asses, faces of oxen, and faces of birds. I wondered, and I asked them, "Who are you?" Did Jesus, who is said to have argued scripture with the temple rabbis at the tender age of 12, have access to different sacred stories than those we read in the Old Testament today?
And that's pretty interesting if you think about it. A lot of the things that Jesus did, the miracles that he did, raising the dead, liberating someone who was possessed, that famous one where he asked the possessed man, "Who are you?" And he answered, "Legion, for we are many." What Jesus did, it wasn't a simple get out or leave this man or anything like that, like the way the Christianity pretty much presents it. It didn't happen that way. The way it happened, according to these lost scriptures that were purposely taken out, and a lot of them were destroyed deliberately on purpose by church officials. Jesus actually used practical Kabbalah. He was a cabalist, a very powerful cabalist, and he took after King Solomon. He was, in many ways, he was like King Solomon in that sense. So he used a lot of the Jewish magic, and with it, he actually liberated the possessed man from whatever that was possessing him, demons or whatnot. Now, these are very similar to the ones that King Solomon used to build his temple. With the magic ring, he conjured up these spirits, and then what he did was he basically had them under his control. When he conjured them up, he used them as slaves, and they were forced to bow down to him. When he had the magic ring on his index finger, putting it like that, he had it on his index finger right here. He had the ring, and of course he had the secret name of God and all this symbols on it, inscribed on the ring. So that forced them to kneel down to him in servitude. And when he did that, he put them to work. So his temple was built supernaturally. He did have architects, obviously. He had his own Masonic order. And a lot of the stuff that you can find in the Goetia about these demons that he used to use as workers. He also used it to summon and control angels, which he had a very high but limited degree of control over. So he was successful. He was successful at it, but of course it wasn't easy. But he was successful at it. So he had his temple built by the help of angels and demons. And it's really, if you think about it, it's pretty ironic. The whole the whole ideology of it, how it's very similar to the Lord of the Rings. And I think it maybe is pretty much taken from that. It's taken from the story of King Solomon. So one ring of power, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. That's basically what he did. And the Testament of Solomon is a very interesting book. Even though I never really read the actual book, I just read what people read about it, and they showed parts of it, and then I read certain parts of it which I thought was very interesting. Actually, finding the actual book of it, the actual text, I think is going to be kind of hard to find. And from what I understand from all of this, it makes a whole lot of sense that he was also not just, like I said, an exorcist, one of the greatest exorcists that ever lived, and Jesus took pretty much after him. He learned a lot of stuff from him. I'm pretty sure he read a lot of texts. Even though these two men, historical figures, well, one of them is a possible historical figure, but these two were actually separated for I don't know how many hundreds of years, how many centuries apart from each other. But I'm pretty sure he studied a lot on King Solomon. And of course, he did share a bloodline. So the only reason why Jesus was considered to be the king of the Jews is because of the fact he shared the same royal bloodline that traces back to King Solomon, or even back to King David, if you want to go back even further, depending. So he shares a bloodline with King Solomon. And of course, same thing with Mary Magdalene, which, she shares the same bloodline. She was like a descendant from kings, from royalty, which I'm not going to get into that part, about him, about Jesus and Mary Magdalene being married and, being a couple or whatever like that. I'm not going to get into that part. So that's a whole nother issue, a whole nother thing. But the thing about it is, he took after him in a bloodline. He learned a lot of practical Kabbalah. King Solomon did use a magic ring given to him by the Archangel Gabriel to have control over angels and demons, in which he used as slaves and as workers. Now, most of this isn't from Jewish folklore, obviously. It doesn't mean that it's a myth. It just means it's something that could or may not be true. It's like a question mark. No one really knows for sure if it's true or not. That's what folklore is. It doesn't mean myth. And the Testament of Solomon is a very mysterious book. No one really knows its actual authenticity. And it was written in the first person's point of view, so it was more like a journal. And that's what I find interesting about that. So if you have any questions, any comments, whatever, please let me know. The same thing, don't hesitate. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And again, to all of you, take care.